I will. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I don't think I've ever asked, is that Stephen Baird back there? Who's in the back? No, I'm not sure who that is. How about Alex? Alex, I don't know if I've ever asked you to lead us before.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, Alex. All right, moving on to roll call. Nancy, could you please conduct a roll call?
Director Levine, Director Burns,
Here.
Director Poland, Director Lewitt, Chair Kordeski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, approval of the agenda. Dave, are there any changes to the agenda?
Good morning. No proposed changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Let's see. Is there anybody on the board would anybody on the board like to make a motion and a second to approve the agenda? Fantastic. Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Are there any abstentions? Seeing and hearing none. Moving on to item number 3, public comments. Members of the public may now address the board of directors on matters not appearing on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the board, no action shall be taken on any matter not appearing on the agenda. Nancy, are there any public comment cards submitted?
No public comments were submitted.
Thank you, Nancy. All right. And at this point, I think we're going to introduce some new employees. Adrian?
Yes. Good morning, President Kordeski, gentlemen of the board. I am thrilled to introduce to you today Misha Webley, who, please stand, who joins the External Affairs team as our new Public Affairs and Communications Manager. Misha brings with him more than 15 years of experience as a communicator and storyteller, including 5 years in a leadership role for municipal water communications. Most recently, he served as Deputy Communications Director for the Portland Water Bureau, where he led a creative team responsible for communicating complex topics such as water infrastructure, rates and affordability, emergency preparedness, and long-term system investments for a utility serving nearly 1 million people. He is a FEMA certified public information officer and served as lead PIO during a major 2023 wildfire that threatened Portland's water supply, where he oversaw crisis communications, media relations, multilingual outreach, and the Bureau's first comprehensive emergency communications plan. With a background in film and video production, he brings a strong storytelling and community engagement lens, helping translate high-stakes issues into clear, trusted, and accessible messages. And we are excited to have Misha's experience and perspective as we continue building a modern, strategic, and community-centered approach to engagement and communication at Las Virgenes.
Misha, this sounds very, very impressive. We're glad to have you aboard. Let's see, the next item, Brian Ritchie, introducing new employees.
All right.
Thank you, thank you. So first, we'd like to recognize new hire Brian Starr. So Brian recently started working in our Information Systems Division as a network and security analyst. Brian previously worked for the Las Virgenes Unified School District as a network administrator and brings over 18 years of experience supporting IT and information systems with a strong emphasis on public agencies. During his tenure at Las Virgenes Unified, he earned his bachelor's degree from California State University, Northridge, and obtained his Certified Chief Technology Officer certification from the California IT and Education Association. In his spare time, Brian enjoys spending time with his family, baking with his wife, traveling, and hiking local trails. So please, once again, join me in congratulating Brian on his new hire. And so next, we'd like to congratulate Amelia Dawson on her recent promotion to Principal Financial Analyst. Amelia. So Amelia joined the district in May of 2024 as a Management Analyst 2, where she focused on financial management of grants and assisted the facilities and operations staff with the administration of their contracts, among other duties. And through a competitive recruitment process, Amelia was promoted to Principal Financial Analyst, where she will be assuming the budget preparation and supervision of the payroll and financial reporting functions. In her spare time, Amelia loves the great outdoors, enjoys snow skiing, and camps with her family every chance she gets. Please join me in congratulating Amelia on her new promotion to Principal Financial.
Thank you, Brian. And it looks like Don, you have some promotions as well, huh?
Yes, thank you. Maria Songer, who's hiding behind Amelia there, was promoted from Human Resources Analyst 2 to Principal Human Resources Analyst on January 5th. Maria's been with the district for nearly 8 years, starting as a Human Resources Analyst 1 and then promoting to a 2. She's made significant contributions to the district throughout this time. As the new Principal Human Resources Analyst, she will have supervisory responsibility over some of the day-to-day human resources activities in human resources and risk management. Maria is a continuous learner, always striving to grow and implement best practices in human resources management. She has a master's degree in business administration with an emphasis in human capital management and holds a public sector human resources associate certification. So Maria is looking forward to stepping into this new role, and we look forward to congratulating her on this promotion.
Congratulations, Maria. All right, and looks like they saved the best for last. Jonathan Vo. Jonathan, please stand. Jonathan, my gosh. A proclamation in recognition of Jonathan Vo for his 37 years of service. Get rid of my hat. To the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. Whereas Jonathan Vo, Water Reclamation Plant Operator 2, retired after 37 years of service to Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. And whereas Jonathan Vo began his career with the Las Virgenes Municipal Water District on October 24th, 1988. I was 16 years old. No, actually 26. Whereas during his career at Las Virgenes Municipal Water District, Mr. Vo served as a sanitation utility apprentice, a water reclamation plant attendant, water reclamation plant operator, water reclamation plant operator 2, and water reclamation plant operator 3 from July 2022 to January 30th. Jonathan, there is a lot more here. I probably shouldn't read it all here myself, but I really appreciate your time and your effort, and 37 years is just outstanding, and I'm amazed. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Can I say a couple things in?
You sure can.
So I've gotten to know Jonathan over the years. Jonathan's one of those employees who, when I come out to Tapia and Rancho, he'll frequently approach me and we have a chance to chat. And in that time I've gotten to know him, he shared with me a lot about his family and his vacations and the different things that give him joy. And I just wanted to share a couple things that I think are touching to me. Is one, well, first, Jonathan's a really hardworking employee. And every time I see him, he's always at work. But he takes time to talk, and he enjoys talking. And one of the things, so Jonathan immigrated from Vietnam and came here and worked for the district. He has the lowest employee number, so he's the longest serving employee of Las Virgenes right now, which is it gets you some. It gets you respect in its own right. But Jonathan's also somebody who's respected and well-liked among his colleagues. He also, over the years, has supported his family, and he's very proud of his family, his kids in particular. Both of your kids, two kids, right, Jonathan, are both very successful. And Jonathan always shared with me that that is the greatest achievement of his life, is seeing his kids be successful and having a hand in that. And he attributes some of that to the district and the fact that he had a steady job here at the district and he was able to support them in accomplishing their dreams and their ambitions. So that was always touching to me, and I appreciate you sharing that with me, Jonathan. Thank you for everything that you've done for the district, all of the contributions over many, many years.
Can I have a couple of minutes?
Of course.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Director, Board Director, General Manager, and everybody here. All of the faces I will not and never forget. First of all, I want to thank you, my wife, to handle with me a lot of time. We have to serve the community. I'm out the house most of the time, January. So I thank you her very much. Right now, she's flying somewhere. My daughter's in Germany. My son's actually going to work. With this job, I value it a lot more. When I came here, 3 brothers and sisters, 9, 14, and 16. I'm the one 14. And with this job, I'm able to sponsor all my family members, my parents, my sister, all of my siblings here safe and sound. With that, that's why I stay with the district. District found me and fostered me since 1988. And I cannot forget that for the rest of my life. With this job, I successful achieve my goal. My daughter, my son complete school, my wife a successful job. Now I'm on my way to the next chapter. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, everybody. Without you, I cannot be here. And all my colleagues behind me, without you, without all of you, I cannot stand in here today. Thank you so much. And especially, this lady, I know her in the early 90s. Here, good mom, I met your mom's name. Julia Aranda arrived at Tapia with the C4 project replacing the boss screen. At that time, she looked so young and active and active with Julia. I said, are you old enough to work? And she said, yeah, I'm very. She's at 10, I think she's at the time. That's a one high school too. So thank you. I don't want to take your time, but I think that of my work, and I, from the bottom of my heart, from my family and from the whole family as a whole, thank you very much.
Why don't we take all of it?
Can I squeeze in there?
Hold on one second there. There, okay.
My name request, Alex. Oh, so the microphone's not, it's still in there. All right, wide angle. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right.
I am.
I was literally just watching something on YouTube. Thank you so much, Jonathan. All right, moving on. Item number 4, consent calendar. Is there anybody on the board who wishes to pull in an item from the consent calendar?
I'd like to pull items 4E and 4F. So I'll move to approve items 4A through D and G.
Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Are there any abstentions? Hearing and seeing none? All right, let's move on
So I want to, no, we gotta discuss items 4E and F.
Yeah, let's move
The
on.
reason I asked for, to
Enough.
pull 4E on page 131, potable water sales were 22.6 million for the physical year compared to 20.3 million for the same period prior year. You go through this discussion and I was wondering, where is the budgeted amount of money in this paragraph? Talk, how much was budgeted for potable water sales during the year? It doesn't say, or I missed it. Maybe you can point it out to me. Page 131.
So the budgeted potable water sales, I'm actually looking at the financial report right now, for the whole year is 52.7 million.
This would have been a nice place to see it instead of.
We
I
can
tried-
add that into the paragraph in the future. It's doing a year over year comparative, but
Yeah, it
it's
was-
okay to add that in. I agree.
It does show that number on page 133 in the table.
Okay, but
If
I
you-
would like to have seen it here where I could compare to how's it going against the budget? Are we, you say we're ahead of it here by 2.3 million, but what was budgeted? How are we doing against the budget? That was my question. So that's 4E. And then in 4F, there was a balcony replacement project and I wondered, you were going to do some work on 4F. Was a question, didn't write it down. So, oh, I know what it is. Where is building 7? I don't know where building 7 is. I don't know which building is building 7.
Building 7 is the building right behind, this is building 8, building 7 is behind us. So it's right where they park all the fleet vehicles back
Right,
there.
yeah. But
It's
I don't-
operations
I
building.
didn't know where it was. So my question was, is it possible in the future, if you do something like this, tell me where it is? I don't know
Sure.
where Building 7 is. I didn't, I assumed, but we all know that that's not a good idea. That's why I wanted to ask. So therefore, I move to approve items 4E and F.
Except I have a question also.
Oh,
I
okay.
had a question also in that area. I know it's outdoors, but what are we doing to mitigate further rain once we replace it or further wet water intrusion?
I can answer that question for you, Director Burns. So the way the deck is currently constructed, there's scuppers that allow the water to run off. So it still pools up on the sides. When they do this work, they're gonna take the ledge off, so it just falls into a gutter. So it can all flow cleanly off instead of actually pooling anywhere on the deck.
And sitting there, and sitting there and rotting,
Correct,
or getting through the membrane.
correct.
Does that mean it'll also be angled slightly so that it will roll off?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know that for commercial, for residential, there's a lot of balcony inspections that are required. Does that have any effect on us in a commercial basis? No.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Are we collecting that water?
He,
Just because right behind me, it says valuing every drop. So you have a bucket at the bottom. It's just a good story showing.
We actually will be, it'll be going into a gutter system and then running off to the storm drains from there. So.
Yeah,
we
we actually
could
have a
put
little
rain
drainage
barrels.
Whale over here that collects the runoff from the site. When you walk down, if you walk down to the dog park, there's a vegetated swale that you wouldn't notice unless you looked. And that's actually a rainwater capture system.
great. And
Also-
therefore move, are we done?
Yeah, well, you made the motion, it got seconded,
Uh,
and so I believe now we're going to vote on it. Is that okay?
That's wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. Good to hear. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Are there any abstentions? Hearing and seeing none. Moving on to item number 5, illustrative and or verbal presentation agenda items. Item 5A. Recognition of Randall Levine for 1 year of service. The Los Virgenes Municipal Water District Certificate of Recognition presented to Randall Levine, in grateful recognition for 1 year of dedicated service on December 6th, 2025. And you even get a pin to go along with it. Yeah. Do you want to say anything? Okay, we're gonna have some pictures of it, right? Or were you taking pictures? Yes. Is there anybody else that wants a picture taken? Okay. Hearing and seeing none. All right, moving on. Item 5B. MWD Representative Report. Would Director Lewitt please provide the report?
Yeah, thank you. It's hard to follow such a great achievement by Director Levine, but I'll try. 3 things to report on. One is next February 2nd, I'm going to be flying to our nation's capital to with Metropolitan in my role as the chair of the legislative committee. And so I'll probably have to be remote, maybe for the JPA and maybe for the Las Virgenes meetings, but to your advantage, I won't be here physically. But I'll let you know how that goes. Mainly the big issue is the Colorado River issue. And The second thing I want to report on is that tomorrow at 10 o'clock, some of us are gonna go, and hopefully we have carpool, maybe we can, carpool. Yeah, because we're a very sustainable water district, as we all know. But we're gonna be joining Callegas Municipal Water District and Los Angeles Department of Water and Power to recognize this important project that will improve operational flexibility and support water deliveries to the western portion of the service area of Metropolitan that are all dependent on the state water. This is something that we've been working on a long time. It's phase one. Joe, thanks for all your support that you've given me. Hopefully we'll all be there. It's 10 to 11. We'll get Randy back here by 12. And it's at the Venice Pressure Control Structure in Culver City. So hopefully we'll have a great event there, and it'll be the start of getting us some water that's not dependent solely on the state water. And the last thing I want to report is that on February 10th at our, sure if that's a committee meeting or a board meeting, but probably the board, we're going to, Metropolitan's going to have the, after a 4-year effort to conduct extensive technical studies and analysis, partner coordination, and public engagement, the environmental review process has reached a major milestone with the completion of the final environmental impact report, final EIR, for Pure Water Southern California. So it's the February 10th meeting. The board is scheduled to consider certifying the final EIR and adopting proposed findings of fact, a statement of overriding considerations, and a mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program in support of this program. So I think it looks like we'll probably be a positive. We'll probably approve it. But just to let you know that the Pure Water is far from a done deal. You know, right now, it seems like the metropolitan community has too much water and not enough money. So this is a very, very expensive project, and there might be some folks who either are against it or may want to delay it or may want to do it in phases. So it'll be an interesting discussion. But I'm all for more water, because even though we have a lot of water now, there'll be a time, and we've had times, obviously, that we haven't had enough water. So I'm all for infrastructure and doing things when we don't necessarily need it, so then when we do need it, we have it. So that's my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well done, Jay. Thank you for your report. Item number 5C, External Affairs. Adrian.
Good morning, President Kordesky, gentlemen of the board. I'm doing things a little bit differently this morning. So today's update is meant to give you all a high-level snapshot of how external affairs is aligning 4 divisions: public affairs, legislative affairs, resource conservation, and customer service around a strategic goal. That single strategic goal being moving our community from awareness to understanding, and from understanding to action. And there we go, sorry. So at the core of that effort is the strategic communications plan, which is currently sort of firmly in the middle of this process. So we have, in my first 6 months in this position, I have developed an understanding of the current processes and priorities of external affairs, and analyzed what works, what could be improved, and aligned our strategic communications plan and the direction of external affairs to the organizational strategic plan and the mission and values. So right now, we are developing all of the objectives and key performance indicators for the strategic communications plan in a way that is aligned with the overall organizational plan. And so that is currently in development with our new public affairs and communications manager. We will finalize that. And as I promised the board, if you remember one of my first board meetings, I promised you all a strategic communications plan at the end of my first year. So we are right on track to meet that deadline. So you can expect to see that communications plan in late July or early August. But really, at the foundation of the strategic communications plan, it's organized around the 4 principles you see on the slide: building awareness and relationships through storytelling in particular, That will be a new focus of ours, and that will help customers and stakeholders understand not just what we're doing, but why it matters to them. Additionally, policy shaping and support, where we consolidate feedback internally and externally to identify opportunities that influence outcomes and not just compliance. Additionally, particularly with customer service, focusing on that direct connection, recognizing that some of our most impactful engagement happens one-on-one through customer service, and moving information to action, especially where conservation and behavior change can meaningfully support district goals. So been having a lot of great conversations with Craig and Resource Conservation about what that looks like. And this framework is going to ensure that each division is operating independently where appropriate, but all pulling in the same direction. Some upcoming strategic partnerships that I want to just highlight for your awareness. You'll see a lot of upcoming events in your calendar, but in particular, a new one is the Lady Face Mountain Film Festival, the Pure Water 10K, where we've sort of upped our sponsorship level. And one of the more exciting ones is our collaboration with Las Virgenes Unified School District at Lupin Hill Elementary. Our previous investment in the school district was in the form of a grant that supported water science overall within the school district. This year, we are in the beginning stages of a new approach where we are going to be working at the school level with a single school. So Lupin Hill Elementary, right up the road, is creating an outdoor learning space. And we've had a great meeting with their principal, understanding her mission and vision for that space and where water science can be incorporated in this large outdoor learning space. And that will be accessible by all elementary students or all students within Las Virgenes Unified School District. So it is a very innovative new learning space, and we're really excited about the opportunity for the water district to have a pretty significant role in shaping what that space looks like and how students are learning about the outdoors, this area in particular, and how vital water is to the area, and increasing that understanding at a really crucial learning point for them. So those are those upcoming sponsorships. And really from your perspective, the key takeaway there is just that they're not sponsorships for visibility alone. They're relationship building platforms that allow us to meet our community where they already are. So for resource conservation, which is, again, integrated into that partnership, we are planning for the future. Our focus right now is planning and alignment around three major efforts: the Indoor Water Use Working Group, the Urban Water Use Objective, and the Urban Water Management Plan. Those efforts are interconnected and will ultimately shape how conservation expectations are communicated and implemented locally. And an important note for your awareness, Craig and I are currently developing a dedicated briefing schedule for you on the Indoor Water Use Working Group's finding and recommendations. That briefing is going to be designed to focus on policy implications, decision points, and timing. And where your feedback will be particularly important on what position the Water District wants to take on some of those recommendations, understanding your feedback and your vision for that. So that will be upcoming. In the next few weeks and months, we'll solidify that for you. Public affairs continues to focus on education outreach and narrative clarity across multiple fronts. Media engagement has included coverage from the AP on the Ocean Well pilot, Pure Water, the AWPF groundbreaking, the guaranteed maximum price being approved, were all recent media engagements. Again, our educational partnership with Las Virgenes Unified School District and increased responsiveness to resident inquiries, tours, public meetings, particularly around rates and capital projects. Recently, we've had some queries from local residents related to the AWPF that have been really positive, actually. They've got questions about oak trees and things like that. And in collaboration with Ariano Associates and Jacobs, we've been able to answer those questions in a way that I think is really positive. When community members are engaged and have information and awareness of a project, when we can answer their questions in a way that sort of satisfies the level of engagement that they're at, it's really positive for us because it ends up creating residents who are not only asking questions, but then taking that new information and sharing it. And so we're creating advocates and allies for the project when we are able to do that effectively. And I think we've had a couple of really great engagements recently. And so then again, we're going to be renewing our storytelling efforts with employee spotlights, promotional video work, and reviving the podcast in an effort to really humanize the work we do here at Las Virgenes and the people behind it. And so we would love some board participation with those efforts. I think it's really valuable when we can talk about sort of the core of who the people of the water district are, what motivates them, how that informs their work. For instance, President Kordesky, you are an avid outdoorsman, and that informs the way you approach the work that we do, our environmental sustainability. Those are the types of things that we're looking to highlight in some of these future projects. Moving on to legislative affairs. Legislative affairs remains focused on 3 priorities. One obviously is the advocacy for the Pure Water Project financing. That will be coming to the JPA board officially as the #1 priority. Strategic coordination at the state and federal levels, including our lobbying with all of our state and federal partners. And then a new priority that I'm excited about is better integration of legislative priorities into the public affairs processes. So Jeremy and I have sort of developed a plan for how the legislative priorities are informing what we communicate and how we communicate that to the public, and ensuring that policy conversations, public messaging, and board direction are aligned. That helps reduce risk and strengthens our position with decision makers outside of the district. For customer service, this is where the front line of our policies become personal, and several efforts here are worth flagging for the board. So #1 being updated report cards. Those will be going out, I believe, next week. So that's that 6-month snapshot of water use. So efficient, inefficient, or excessive. We've updated the visuals and tailored the messaging to different usage for those different usage categories based on customer feedback and feedback here internally. So we're excited about what that looks like. And then in addition to that, there was a lot of back-end preparation for the new rate structure, including the system testing and a reset of penalties for the calendar new year. So customer service has been doing a lot of back-end effort there. There will be an update to district code to ensure that SB 394 water theft penalties are implemented effectively. And that should be coming to the early March board meeting so that we can enforce that legislation. And then again, we did have a really coordinated multi-platform approach to communicating new rates. So customers won't be surprised when they see that reflected on their February bills. And that included social media, the current flow, the website, bill inserts, and the report cards that are going out this week. So we have been pushing that message on multiple platforms. So wherever our customers are getting their information, they should have seen that. And then, yeah, in closing, we are overall just taking a more intentional, integrated approach to external affairs, one that respects the complexity of the work while keeping a focus on the outcomes that matter to the board: trust, compliance, financial stability, and long-term resilience. So I will continue to bring you forward-looking briefs and ensure you have the right information at the right moment to support your decision-making. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Fantastic report. Really appreciate it. Are there any questions or comments for Adrian?
Thank you for your report, Adrian. What size is the learning, outdoor learning space over at Lupin Hill?
So they currently have an outdoor learning space for their students specifically. I would say my rough estimate would be that's probably about 2 acres of space, but they are expanding it. So you might not be aware, there are pony baseball fields at Lupin Hill right now. That contract ends in 2 years, and the principal of Lupin Hill has been asked to create a vision for what that space is going to be in the future. So 2 years from now will sort of be the groundbreaking on that new space. And those baseball fields, there are 2 right now that are planned to be absorbed into that outdoor learning space. And so 2, T-ball baseball field sizes, in addition to those about 2 acres, I would guess, that are currently there. So, we're looking at a very significant space. And we are working with the dedicated instructor for that space, as well as the principal, to understand what they want that space to be. And additionally, like the different levels of education that can be integrated into that space. So it's not just elementary school. That will be the primary focus, but in the future, middle and high school students as well, being able to utilize that space for things like science projects and things like that.
Great.
So,
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So, my other question is, when is the Lady Face Mountain Film Festival? And
So
where is it?
yes, so the Ladyface Mountain Film Festival is going to be held, so it is a newer film festival. This is its 2nd year. It is based in Agora Hills, but because the theater closed in Agora, the movie theater, the movies will be screened in Westlake. And then there is a community event on the final day. It's a 4-day film festival. And it's very impressive. So there's a lot of focus on environmental documentary filmmaking, but there is a full range of genres of film. And we are going to be sponsoring a block of environmentally focused films there. And the goal with the Ladyface Mountain Film Festival is, number one, to build relationships in a space where we don't really have a strong presence, and that is in that environmental space where there are a lot of big voices. I know it's been mentioned here from the board a number of times, but there are some big voices in this community. And when we talk about those voices and the conversations they're having about the environment and conservation, and the real value in storytelling in that space, to connect people to this, to understand how it impacts the local area, and sort of the second and third level effects on a global scale, and where our work ties into that is going to be really important. I see this as a really long-term investment with those voices and building those relationships. So there are networking opportunities with this festival. There's an opportunity to provide remarks before the screening of those films, to talk about the work we do, how committed we are to the environment and sustainability, and our desire to really connect in this space, and be a part of those existing conversations and find opportunities for collaboration and connection.
So I'll just add, it's February 26th through March 1st.
What day?
Yes.
February 26th through March 1st.
And it should be on your update.
Good, I'll be out of the country.
Well, we're going to miss you, Len.
Thank you.
Gary.
Okay, so.
Hold it. One more.
Go ahead.
I love the idea of shifting attitudes. That's, you're gonna use the theater that's currently not operated by anybody on Lakeview Canyon Road?
It's the Cineopolis
Oh, okay.
in Westlake Village,
Okay,
which again was really nice because Agora Hills and Westlake are 2 communities that are, sort of at the center of the AWPF. So
Sure.
being integrated in those communities right now, leading up to the groundbreaking, was really great timing for us.
thank you.
So I just wanted to add, I wouldn't be here except for some of the outreach that Las Virgenes did. And 30 years ago, I used to answer I think it was called the missing piece. I actually think Dave's shaking his head. I think I won some flower seeds once or twice. But I paid attention to it. I don't even know really why. And then someone said that we gave tours locally. I'm not sure we're doing that anymore. But I came on that tour, and then I learned about a weekend in Gene Camp and then a weekend upstate. And that's what eventually got me to run for this position and was interested. So this outreach is important. Also at the event that we were just at for CASA, there was a gentleman that spoke, and I'm going to speak about this later too. We really need to reach out to the young people who are doing YouTubes and everything else. And I know I sent you some slides, but I just want to make one comment. He did a TED Talk, which is generally well accepted, and he had 708 views. I haven't viewed it yet, so it's not up to 7 and 9, but I intend to listen to it. But he went on a podcast, on a YouTube version with someone called Mr. Beast, which if you follow, you would know who he is.
Yes.
And the same piece of information about water was viewed 13 million times.
Yep.
So we obviously have to look at other ways of being seen, especially by the young people who eventually will be the 40-year-olds who own all the homes in this area when we're no longer here. So 30 years I've been playing with this whole area, and now here I sit. So everything you've shown seems to be very professional, and I'm very appreciative of it.
Yeah, and it's definitely a part of the long-term strategic plan. So the plan we're developing goes out to 2030, and it will definitely involve a lot more effort towards collaboration and amplifying our messaging. And a big part of that is understanding our audiences and where they're viewing information and what interests them and gets their engagement. So,
And
yeah.
the gentleman that I spoke to said he can put us in touch with Mr. Beast. So if we'd like to be 13 million views about the water project or something like that.
Beast is a little controversial, but
Yeah, I know.
we might get there. I appreciate the recommendation. Thank you, Dr. Burns.
Any other questions or comments for Adrian? Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. All right, moving on to item number 6, Treasurer. Director Levine, do you have a report for us?
I have a brief report that generated about $4.6 million of disbursements during the period. The two largest, that almost comprise half, would be the Met water delivery for November, which was approximately $1.5 million. And then we had about $500,000 repairs to Toro, which I think those were the emergency repairs? I think, but I'm not 100% sure.
Dave is shaking his head yes.
Yes, okay. So that is, those are the major items. No other unusual items to report that I saw. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions or comments for Randy?
I had a couple of questions.
Beautiful.
I hope you don't,
I'm glad I have an assistant treasurer
well, what is the,
and answer
wanted-
all the questions.
we had a,
Let us have it.
so I see you have a disbursement to Manat Phelps. So what are they doing for us? What, I didn't have a chance to call you yesterday.
So Manat is the public affairs lobbyist firm for Oceanwell that we're paying, that we have the partnership with Oceanwell and other agencies to lobby for a regulatory path forward for Oceanwell.
Right. So are they submitted an invoice and what are they doing?
Just to add to that, so what are they doing? So they are helping us coordinate and schedule meetings up in Sacramento primarily. We had, unless I'm missing some, we had at least 2. I attended one of those visitations a few months ago. I think Dave, you attended both of them, along with some of the directors. But so yeah, it's just sitting down, getting some FaceTime with lawmakers and regulators and sharing the story of Oceanwell and trying to get their support to really change regulations that will provide a pathway for alternative desalination such as Oceanwell. I do want to remind the board, we are just waiting on a 3rd invoice from Manat, and then we're going to get, we're seeking reimbursements from the other partnering agencies. There's 7 of us total. that are contributing towards the professional services agreement with Minot. So that's in the works.
So we're doing that quarterly?
Quarterly, that's the that was the consensus. So we don't overload all the agencies with monthly invoices. But I have a progress report that Jeremy put together. I could make that available to the board. We could send that out in an email. And again, we're just
Ocean
waiting.
was paying part of that.
Correct. They're,
fee also.
yeah.
They're paying half, if I remember.
Yeah, they're paying half of a roughly 100,000, is it 120, 130,000, something like that. They're paying half of it. And the 7 agencies, including us, are covering the other half, and we're splitting it evenly between us. The way it's set up, it is we are calling it a voluntary contribution, but you know, pretty much the expectation is that everybody involved with Ocean will contribute.
So the last question I have is on the Jacobs, total amount of money sent to Jacobs was about $500,000. And it caught my eye. Are they still providing that kind of, there's advisor, there's 2 different items in here. Capitalist asset, yes, to an expense. I just was curious, are they doing that much work?
Jacobs Engineering as our owner's advisor on Pure Water, absolutely. They've been instrumental in helping us get to at least the finish line for the GMP 1-2. And they'll stay on board with us through the completion of the project through construction. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Len. Any other comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you. Moving on, engineering and facilities, the Staunton Road Pump Station and Saddle Peak Tank Capacity Analysis and Improvement Project. And I believe this is Jessica and Sarah.
Good morning, President Kordeshi. Happy New Year to the board. My name is Jessica Forte. I'm the principal engineer here at the district. And it's my pleasure to present a recommendation to enter into a design contract for the Stunt Road Pump Station and Saddle Peak Tank Capacity Analysis and Improvement Project. Okay, great. Design of the Stunt Road Pump Station was approved by the board in the infrastructure investment plan, and funds were placed into our adopted budget for fiscal year 25-26 in the capital improvement program, number 10727. While the CIP's scope originally focused on surge mitigation, the design being recommended today recommends also the evaluation of pumping capacity, improvements to the Saddle Peak Tank Inlet Pipeline, extension of electrical services to Saddle Peak Tank, and improvements of site security in conformance with the district's multi-site security assessment. Good news, it's within budget. These inclusions are all individually necessary and would otherwise be piecemealed together through various operations efforts and smaller CIP programs in the future. By designing them now, the district can realize cost savings as well as administrative and operational optimization associated with scaling the project. Namely, the California Coastal Commission and California Environmental Quality Act documentation will be truncated into one assessment and one report rather than multiple over multiple years. The design package will be coordinated to allow bidding under one or multiple projects for streamlined permitting and construction in a shorter time frame. And we expect this approach to be more cost-friendly by offering the flexibility in the construction phase. Oh, shoot. There we go. So why is a surge tank necessary? If Stunt Road Pump Station and the Cold Canyon Pump Station were to lose power at the same time, which is very unlikely, but the risk associated with that is very high. Our supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA system, shows that in that scenario, the system experiences rapid and extreme pressure changes. The pressures can drop low enough to form vapor pockets in the pipelines and spikes high enough to stress the pipe beyond normal operating conditions. When pressure returns, it's possible that those vapor pockets can collapse and create damage to the pipelines, creating sudden and powerful loads that may damage or rupture them. These pressure spikes are unpredictable and cannot be reliably controlled once they occur. And over time, we've seen a number of main breaks in this general region that may be attributed to some of those spikes, which is why it was in the IIP and shows up in this year's CIP. The good news is that problem has a fairly standard solution in a surge tank. A surge tank acts as a shock absorber for the system, stabilizing pressures during power outages and generator failures or other sudden events. Installing a surge tank near the Stunt Road pump station significantly reduces the risk of pipeline damage, service disruptions, and costly emergency repairs, protecting both system reliability and long-term infrastructure investments. Oh, shoot. Sorry, it's my first time up here. I don't mean to be. There we go. So why the added scope? In mid-2025, Southern California Edison identified an undergrounding project on Stunt Road adjacent to the driveway that services this tank and presents an opportunity to bring underground power to the Saddle Peak tank for communication and potential upgrades to the tank in the future. Earlier this year, our very astute director of engineering identified a segment of water main that bottlenecks from 14 inches to 8 inches and then back to 14 inches in essentially the same alignment. The bottleneck limits the district's ability to operate both of the pumps at the Saddle Peak tank, or I'm sorry, at the Stunt Road pump station, excuse me, without exceeding acceptable pressures. Coordinating the trench alignments on that project will allow for cost savings and reduce potential access issues associated with the construction in that roadway. Redesigning this segment of mainline will allow more flexibility in our pump operations as well. At that pump station, we have 2 pumps. Because of this bottleneck in the system, we can only operate 1 pump at a time. By upsizing that, it'll offer us the operational flexibility to push more water up to that tank if we ever needed to. It also obviously reduces construction impacts. And finally, adoption of the district's multi-site security assessment in 2020 encourages safety and security improvements, and any feasible measures will be designed into the project. The tank itself is actually on the backbone trail, so we have a lot of traffic through this site, so it's a good time to take a look and make sure that our security is up to snuff there. Oh, shoot. I don't know why I have 2 sets of arrows. Excuse me. Based on the scope of work, staff put together a request for design proposals out and put that RFP out in late October on OpenGov, and we received 3 proposals. Pacific Advanced Civil Engineering, or PACE, was rated highest across all 5 evaluation criteria and had the lowest cost proposal, which makes our recommendation to you fairly straightforward. Including survey and geotechnical services is highly recommended in this area. There's a history of landslides, which actually precipitated construction of the line that we're now going to be upgrading, or hopefully will be upgrading. And with these services included, the contract remains within the available budget. The contract recommendation is just above $413,000, and our budget is currently $425,000 in that account. PACE has successfully completed several design projects for the district and the JPA, including the recent value engineering work that they did for the secondary clarifiers at Tapia, which saved the district $2 million. So we have every confidence in them looking out for the district's best interests and doing a, very good design project for us. Let's see, with that, should the board approve the award of contract today, design completion is expected during winter of fiscal year 26-27, and construction could begin as early as fiscal year 27-28 if the investment in the construction of this project is made later this year. So with that, I recommend that the board accept the proposal from Pacific Advanced Civil Engineering Incorporated and authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement in the amount of $413,957 for the design, bidding, and engineering support during construction for the Stunt Road Pump Station and Saddle Peak Tank Capacity Analysis and Improvement Project. With that, I'd like to invite any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Jessica. And before we have any questions or comments, do we have a motion and a second, or excuse me, do you have a motion and a second from the
I'll
board?
make the motion.
Second.
Fantastic. Do we have any questions or comments for Jessica?
I didn't catch, I have two questions, one of mundane and the other one fairly interesting to me. When did you say construction would start? I didn't catch that.
Construction could start as early as fiscal year 27-28 if we make the construction investment in our upcoming IIP and CIP program.
Because it's up in the hills, would it be, sounds like it's a, I don't know if I'm right, but it sounds like a better idea. Start construction at least in May if there's no possibility of rain damage from extreme events. Is it?
Absolutely. We take all of the seasonal aspects into consideration when we design a project. Oftentimes, recently actually, we've done staggered notices to proceed where a contractor can purchase long lead items or get site specific elements in place, and then maybe do the trenching once the wet season is over. So our design team, I have to say, is one of the best technical teams I've ever worked with, and we will take all of that into consideration.
My next question is in the first paragraph on page 565, the original scope of work for CIP 107 centers around surge protection for the Stump Road Pump Station to reduce the potential for main, and then there's something missing.
Brakes. Main brakes.
Main break.
I could work with Nancy. Maybe we can have that included in the minutes for this report.
Okay, thank you. I was reading along, main what? Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you, Director Poland. I appreciate it.
I remember a year ago, it was a great report, thank you. But I remember a year ago, we all went up to this Saddle Peak and we saw how it was doing the best it could, but it wasn't necessarily putting out the fires. And maybe I wasn't reading as close as I should have or listening, but do we see anything about fires with this? Is this going to affect any way? I know it won't negatively affect the fires, but could it potentially positively affect a potential future fire?
The district and in general, any water purveyor can't really take on the responsibility for putting out a wildfire, right? But this project does increase our ability to push water up to that site and provide some reliability that's surrounding the electrical undergrounding rather than the above ground lines that SCE has. Would you have anything to add to that?
Can I step in on that? So the Saddle Peak system actually performed quite well during the Palisades fire. We were able to maintain pressure throughout the entire event, which was very positive. The system was definitely pushed to the envelope, and we were sweating bullets at times, but we managed to get through it. As with any major incident like this, and when you stress a system, you do learn some things and to make it even better, and to really bolster a system that performed as designed, but just to have a little bit more safety factor and cushion so that so we don't have to have staff working 24/7 for a week straight to ensure that we have system pressure. So, we already had an IAP project on the books prior to Palisades fire. So what this is really doing is combining some things that we'd like to, basically just some further enhancements to the system.
And then I know because it touches the Department of Water and Power system right there. Is there any way that would help to talk to them and tell them what we're doing? Maybe they want to be involved or somehow it could help them or things that we're not thinking about for them or?
So because of the proximity this project has to the ocean, we actually fall under the Coastal Commission purview, and we'll have to reach out to a number of different, players in that area, including District 29 and LADWP.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, Why don't we go ahead and vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Are there any abstentions? Hearing and seeing none. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item 8A, on-call pipeline repair and paving concrete services. And Alex Liu is here.
Okay, good morning, directors. At approximately 11 p.m. on Saturday, January 3rd, district staff received a leak or a report of a main leak on a 10-inch line on Calamigos Road in Malibu. The line in question was located within Calamigos Ranch near Canaan Road and Mulholland Highway. Initially installed in 1964, the records indicated that the approximate cover over the pipe was 4 feet back in 1964. Since 1964, Calamigos Ranch has been significantly developed and improved over time. And during that night, as we began excavating, we easily exceeded past the 4-foot cover mark and ultimately excavated over 22 feet of fill to expose the pipeline and to make the temporary repair. Water was ultimately returned to our customers at 6 a.m. on Monday, January 5th. Approximately 89 service connections were out of water for more than 24 hours while the repair work was being done. With the support of the district's on-call emergency contractor, Toro, staff have initiated the replacement of approximately 300 linear feet of pipeline near Calamigos Road to eliminate the future need to excavate over 20 feet to get to our pipeline in the case that there is another break. The new pipeline will be installed at a standard depth of 5 feet below grade. And this pipeline replacement also increases the reliability of our distribution system since the location of the break was on a critical section that feeds our Latigo subsystem in the lower parts of Malibu. So with that, the recommendation before you today is to find that the work is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, reappropriate funding in the amount of $650,000 from CIP 10785, and authorize the general manager to execute a contract amendment in the amount of $650,000 to Toro Enterprises to increase our not to exceed amount for on-call services, pipeline repair, and paving concrete services contract to $3,201,981.17 for the current 2-year term. And
Fantastic.
that concludes my report.
And before we have any questions or comments, do we have a motion and a second?
Second.
Awesome. Any comments or questions for Alex?
'64. 4. Yep. Yeah, the existing pipe was a welded steel pipe, and the failure happened at a fabricated joint. So we were able to dig down to it, replace that section temporarily with some ductile iron and some couplings. But we will be replacing that line with new ductile iron pipe.
Are there more old lines up there?
Yes,
Yes.
but we're just replacing the section that has the 20 feet of fill over it.
Fill over it, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So it doesn't sound great, though, for the rest of the pipe that we don't know how deep it is, or do we?
We do. So if you go out there and you walk down the access road, you can see where grade used to be. And if you turn around and look up the access road, you can see the access road that was built over time, and it's significantly higher. So that's where all the excess fill came from.
Is it prudent to think about replacing the other 1964 pipe?
I think that will be factored into when
Is
we
there-
begin our pipeline replacement program project.
Yeah, let me just, this might be helpful, is, we have an on-call service agreement with Toro and, as mentioned in the report. And what this is really doing is it's replenishing the funds that we're pulling out to do these urgent repairs. And so, you're actually gonna see another, item similar to this next month, for some repairs that we had Toro do on the force main in Calabasas. But I think what we try to do is address kind of more of the immediate need. And we do have a pipeline replacement program that identifies projects and kind of priority order that we need to take on. We have a pretty good list of 10 years worth of projects. So we try to honor that the best we can. And so to the extent if there is some urgency to doing more in this location, then certainly that's something that's possible. But we do try to limit it as much as we can and just really address the immediate need.
Thank you.
I have a question just for my own education. The first part of the recommendation was for us to find that it's exempt from CEQA. So, and I see the form in there. So do we know that, or do they have to approve that? I don't understand how that works.
It's a determination that we make as staff and recommend. It's based on California law, and there's a set of guidelines about what types of projects are exempt, and generally replacing an existing water main is exempt. But it's required by law that we make that finding and file that notice.
Yeah, and in this case, typically, we wouldn't ask for the CEQA exemption if it was just a repair to existing facilities. But due to the realignment and the need for an in lieu easement for the realignment, it's the safest approach is to request the exemption.
Yeah, the exemption states that if there's no increase in capacity, it's an exempt California Environment Quality Act exemption. So we aren't increasing the size of the line, we're just replacing it.
Thank you.
So my question, you said, and it caught my attention at the beginning, that we were out of water for X number of homeowners for over 24 hours. How do we notify them now?
So there is, we use Everbridge, our notification system, and we have a map of all the affected houses. And so the homeowners do get a notification from Everbridge when the service goes out and when it is restored.
And that's by text? Or
It can
is
either be by text or phone.
or home phone? So we don't really know if they all know. Do we know if we got any phone calls that they were out of water? Are we actually reaching everybody effectively?
Yeah, so we did obviously get a lot of phone calls the night of the break and leading into the next morning, but we did work with IT and customer service. We set up a automatic voicemail response when people call the emergency line. And it basically stated that if you're calling about the Calamigos break, we're working on it and we're going to be bringing water back in service as soon as possible. So that was kind of our first line of defense to prevent us from getting inundated with calls throughout the district as well.
Thank you.
I don't have any, I actually do have a question. So did we know the pipe was that deep before we got there? And I mean, we were out there digging and like 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, and then you start like, are we in the right spot? I mean, how did it go?
So that funny enough, that question came up a lot because when you study the prints, it's indicating about 4.5 feet of cover. So no problem, we'll dig it up. And it came up so many times that we actually cracked the valve open to charge the line up to just confirm that there was water bubbling up again. And it was confirmed. And then we shut the valve again and then we just continued to dig. So because we started to question if we were in the right spot too, once you got 15, 20 feet.
I would question.
And I was just going to add, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we prefer to have our facilities within public right of way. We have more control over what occurs within the streets. When we have easements and pipeline infrastructure within private properties, these types of things can occur and we're not always notified of the improvements that are being made and how it could affect our facilities.
Right, and Calamigos, I ride past there quite a bit and they have a lot of equipment
Right. And in this case, it may not have affected our facility, the pipeline to break, but it makes maintaining and accessing it in the future much more challenging at a depth of 22 feet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
All right.
and we were able to relocate that line in the access road now, so, ideally, it's a new installation, so it won't fail, hopefully in the next few years, but if it were to, it's easily accessible now.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it sounds like a good solution to the issue. Any other comments or questions? Fine. Why don't we go ahead and vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against say no. Are there any abstentions?
Thank you.
Hearing and seeing none. Thank you so much, Alex. Item number 9, information items. Water storage and exchange program of the Irvine Ranch Water District. I believe Dave is going to provide this one.
Thank you. Normally on information items, we'll just take questions, but for this one, I'll just give a brief overview. This is an item that we had a board trip up there to the water bank. That was followed up with a board action where the agreement with Irvine Ranch Water District was approved based on terms that were presented to the board at the time. We did not have the form of the agreement, and so I felt that it took a fair amount of time to put together the agreement to make sure all of the different scenarios were covered and addressed. And also, we ran this agreement by the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California because they're involved in facilitating the exchange. Legal counsel has reviewed it and approved it as to form, and so it's now ready for execution. And so just wanted to give one final chance for each of you to look at it. If you did have questions, we can answer them. If you are comfortable with it, I'll go ahead and sign the agreement. And we did check in with Irvine Ranch Water District, and we talked about the possibility of preparing a joint press release to show that we work together on this, and it will help to address water supply reliability for the district. So that concludes my report.
Great. Thank you, Dave.
I have
Comments and questions?
one question. You want to go first, Jay? My question is, what constitutes a dry water year that would trigger us executing the agreement? How is that like, one of these, or is there a metric that?
Good question. So what would trigger this is a dry water year where Metropolitan Water District Board took an action to implement what is called its water supply allocation plan, which is basically a plan where they determine that we are allowed only so much water, and any additional water we're charged significantly more for. So it puts us on sort of what people commonly call rationing. When that happens, this water is above the line, if you will. So it pluses up the amount of water that we get. And so that would be the scenario that we'd want to execute this. And probably only that scenario, because if we did this in any other water year, we would essentially be, drawing on our plus up when we didn't get the full benefit of that. The technical term for this is called extraordinary supply. It's sort of the vernacular of Metropolitan, which means that it's above and beyond the basic allocation that you receive.
Yeah, my question was more of like when we do our pie chart, when I first got on the board, we had one source of water. So this isn't like water that's going to be it's in our portfolio, but it's not an every day. It's not like 5% of our supply. So how are we going to show it as water that we have in extraordinary circumstances? Is there a way to?
I could probably weigh in on that. So as you're aware, I am leading the water supply diversification study. In fact, we have a workshop on February 2nd with stakeholders. So there's a lot of pie charts that we're developing, and so we actually show, we call it distant groundwater banking. So the IRWD would be in that category. But we look at several different scenarios and out in the future, near term, midterm, long term. But you show in these portfolios, these pie charts, you show the groundwater being part of the supply during the dry, during allocations from Metropolitan, so drought years.
In a dry year, what percentage would this, so you have a scenario, a pie chart of a dry year? then that would how much would this show in that dry year?
Near term, under this agreement, it's a relatively small amount, but we show, I think it's roughly the 700 acre feet or so, under this current agreement. So near term is up until about the year 2030, in that time frame. But in outer years, and it depends on where the study goes and the kind of input we get, feedback we get from the board and from stakeholders, it could be up to 3,900 acre feet during dry years for up to 3 out of 10 years. 3,900 acre feet, just to give that some context, is close around a quarter or 25% of our supply during a drought.
So I love this. I think I think it's a great idea to do a joint press release because it's a major accomplishment by this district. I think it's good to talk in language, not acre feet. I think it's good to talk in language. Let's say if there was a scenario where we'd be down to watering 1 day a week with this acquisition, this agreement, maybe we can water 2 days a week, or we can, whatever the practical effect would be on our ratepayers.
Yeah, I think that this current agreement, it's kind of a pilot, if you will. The 700 acre feet we could get in any given year right now wouldn't be enough really for the kind of allocations we would see from Met in the future. So I think we are looking at increasing this eventually, either with IRWD and or others that are out there that provide water brokering through these groundwater banks. It's again, 3,900, 4,000 acre feet. It's a significant amount of water, quarter of our supply. And the idea is, what we'd like to get to is to get away from this on again, off again conservation. I think people are fed up with it. Let's just use water efficiently always and just have the water there, whether we're in drought or in a good year like we are right now. So just having that consistency and dependency is really what we're looking at.
Yeah, so I think the messaging is that we took steps to allow us to go further without water. So we have more water in a dry year, and it'll, now no one really cares, but if there is a dry year and we have dicey water situation, this could really come in and make everyone's life a lot wetter.
Actually, I have a question. If we needed water this summer, would it be available to us, or do we have to wait until it's been?
It's actually, yes, it would be available to us. And the water has been stored already.
Has been stored already. Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else?
So my question following along with Randy's thinking is, shouldn't we write something in there? What percentage does Metropolitan have to declare? You just said they would have to declare. Is it 10%, 5%, 15%? Because Irvine could say you can't take it unless there's a certain percentage. I don't know if it's terribly important, but maybe that should be in there in some way so that we know at what level this is actionable.
So Irvine Ranch Water District does not specify or have any limitation on our action to call on the water. So we can call on it under any circumstances. And Metropolitans, the depth of their allocation would depend on the circumstances, but that wouldn't be an impediment to drawing the water.
All right.
But it's expensive water, so we wouldn't want to draw it unless we had to.
Correct. If it's a light, if you will, shortage, and we can manage through it with just conservation, it would probably be in our benefit to do that and hold this water for a deeper shortage. And certainly when that situation comes up, that would be the kind of thing that we'd bring to your board, talk through the benefits, the pros and cons of acting on this, and get your feedback and approval on whether to make a call on this water or not.
But I do agree that it should be, I mean, the public should know that we're doing these things in some manner. It's kind of hard to explain, but maybe not. We're storing all these, what I consider gallons of water, or the ability, like you said, Jay, to not have to put a massive plan in place where you're down to 1 day. Maybe this allows us to have 3 days. So it should be explained in very simple terms for consumer to understand. And maybe in one of our presentations, we can show the 5 things we're doing, and this is one of them.
All right. Any more comments or questions for Dave? Seeing and hearing none. Moving on to item number 10, non-action items, the general manager's reports.
Thank you. A couple items of note that I wanted to update you on. You received an update from Joe earlier this month on a force main leak that we had. A force main is basically a pressurized pipeline that conveys wastewater. We have 2 wastewater lift stations that are in Calabasas, and they pump wastewater sequentially and bring that wastewater to the Tapia Water Reclamation Facility. On January 7th in the afternoon, near the BMW dealership on Calabasas Road, we received a report of wastewater that was reaching the pavement surface. The staff responded very quickly, and actually we had a multi-department response that include public affairs, the folks at Tapia, our facility staff, and even our construction crew. They immediately began diverting wastewater to the city of Los Angeles. We have a diversion valve near the Sagebrush Cantina where we can send our wastewater to the Hyperion plant. So we did that and isolated the leak. It turned out to be about 2 to 4 gallons per minute, which is a relatively small amount, but it is wastewater. So this is a critical response. The crews excavated and found a crack in a bell and spigot joint, and that crack was repaired. The crack was there's 2 force mains there, a 10-inch and a 16-inch, and it was on the smaller.
Yes, it was on the 10-inch.
On the 10-inch. So that was repaired. When we have a wastewater overflow, as they call it, or an SSO, sanitary sewer overflow, this is a reportable action. And there's a whole sequence of activities that are triggered. One of the things that we do very quickly is we try to contain and capture or recapture all of that wastewater and send it back to the sewer. We did that. There was some loss of wastewater, about 459 gallons that we couldn't capture, and that was right at the beginning of the event. And so we did report that, and we will follow up with the Regional Water Quality Control Board on that, but the repair has been completed. Moving on.
Wait, I have 2 quick questions.
Yes.
How is it repaired? Do we seal it? Do we replace it? And how do we capture the sewage?
Yeah, why don't,
Yeah,
perhaps Eric can
I
give.
could touch on that. So the pipeline out there was actually found to be asbestos pipe. And we discovered that the pipe was actually in relatively good shape. As Dave mentioned, the issue was right on the joint where a straight piece of pipe gets pushed into what they call a bell at the joint of the pipe. That bell cracked. And so the repair, I had the same question. I wanted to make sure, is this a quick repair or is this a long-term solution? And based on the type of repair clamp that was used, we do see this as a permanent repair. And there's a second part of the question?
Yeah, do we vacuum up the rest of the sewage? Do we spray it with water and into the sewer? How is that? How is 459? How did you get to 9? I don't know how you figured that out.
And I can answer that. I mean, to Dave's point, when we first went out there, I think when and not to belittle the situation, but when you first go out there, I think it was reported that there was a leak. At the time, we were uncertain as to whether it was a potable water line. I think when you think of sewage, you think of the worst case scenario, and really it's sometimes challenging to tell. So when staff mobilized, we quickly did set up straw wattles and visqueen, which is like plastic sheeting around some of the storm drains to make sure we could mitigate any of that entering them. Most of the what was observed, to be honest, evaporated, as Dave mentioned, 2 to 4 gallons per minute, just generally saturates the surface of the roadway. And then also we set up straw wattles in a dirt area to contain any of that. So any material could be, we have a Vector truck that is essentially a vacuum that sucks the material up and out, that assisted and aided us when we were making the repairs in the field.
And then how long does it take to get, first off, does the Sagebrush Cantina switch to Hyperion operate automatically through the SCADA system? Do we have to manually go there and do something?
Yeah, operators have to go there manually and turn a valve to redirect wastewater flow.
Good to know.
Yeah, and that valve, it's not actually at the Sagebrush, but it's near there. There's lift station 1, which is sort of just down the street from it. And that diversion valve is there. Anytime we have a sanitary sewer overflow, it's sort of an all hands on deck situation. So I just wanted to compliment the team that responded. Everybody came together really, really well, and it required, like I said, a multi-departmental response. In terms of the gallons, we don't actually measure every gallon, but what we do is we know, it's 2 to 4 gallons per minute, and we know the approximate amount of time where that happened. And so basically it's the time multiplied by the flow rate. And it's a regulatory requirement that we do that. There are sometimes fines associated with these overflows. The regional board will take a whole bunch of factors into consideration, including our response. And so we will probably be writing up an incident report where we'll explain what we did, when we became aware of it, how quickly we set up containment, and the response activities. So I'm hopeful that it will perhaps be small, if at all, and we'll see, and we'll keep you updated on that.
And it sounds like it was easy to deal with because it was daytime. I don't remember the time.
It started during the day, but I think it continued through the night.
The approximate time we were reported, the spill was reported to customer service was about 2:20 in the afternoon, and then our response was within the hour. So getting field crews out there did go into the night, and the repair occurred the next day.
Good, but my thinking was, obviously, it was easier to respond quickly at 2 in the afternoon than 2 in the morning.
Correct.
I do know, just so you're aware, Calabasas is about to expand that road. They're adding another car dealership, and they're going to make ingress and egress for the car dealers to be better. So you should be aware of that in case it affects some of our piping.
Okay, good to know. 2 other items. I wanted to look at the calendar together, but before we do that, there was a Senate bill that was passed in session last year, Senate Bill 707 by Member Durazo. This is a bill related to the Brown Act. And some of you who have been at conferences recently, you've seen that there are occasional briefings on the bill. And it's an important bill because, of course, the Brown Act governs open government and our meetings and how we conduct business. The bill is fairly complex, and there's quite a few elements of it. We talked with Keith and his team and feel like it would be worth a briefing for you on the material elements of the bill and what has changed and how that will, if any, have an impact on how we do business. Keith has proposed March 3rd, and I think, and what we're thinking of doing is agendizing this for one of our regular board meetings, and we would have Keith or one of his colleagues give an overview on the bill, and we can have a discussion about it. We're also required to provide you each with an updated copy of the Brown Act, so we'll do that at the same time. I think, Director Lewitt, there's a chance you might miss the February meeting, so we thought pushing it to March would be better. So we'll plan to do that. There's a couple associations that have put together a summary of the bill, and so we can share that as well. I did look at one, and the text is about 8-point font. So that gives you an idea about how intricate this is.
Matt sent me one that's like this thick. I could also be interested.
Okay, that would be helpful, but it's thick.
Yeah.
And what I think what we'll try to do is focus on the parts that are germane to us. Keith looks excited about that. It is important though. And then calendar of events. So Nancy has done a really great job. Thank you, Nancy, for being sure that the calendar that we provide to you has all of the events that are coming up. And I think it was noted earlier, tomorrow will be the Metropolitan event for the Sepulveda feeder pumping project. That will be at 10 a.m. at the Venice pressure control
Yeah,
structure.
but what time are we meeting here? Leave.
Yeah, I was just getting to that.
Okay.
So what we did is we've arranged to have a van drive from here. I think I'll probably drive the van from here down there. And it takes about an hour to get there. So what we're thinking is we should meet here at 8:30 a.m.
Great.
with a plan to leave by 8:45. And that will get us there in time. So if you would like to join us in the van, let's meet here in this room at 8:30 tomorrow morning, and we'll go down there together. I think that we've posted it as a special meeting because we have all 5 of you interested in joining. Other events that I wanted to highlight, and I'm looking at the calendar of events, is at the end of the month, we have a chamber event that is on a Saturday. It's what is called the Installation Gala and Casino Night. That's at the Calabasas Country Club. I think some of you have attended this event in the past. It's a fun event, and we are included as members of the Calabasas Chamber. In February, we have our regular meeting will be at TWSD. The following day will be our LV board meeting. On Wednesday, February 11th, Aqua is having their legislative symposium. That is in Sacramento, and that's an annual event. We do still have on the calendar for mid-February a media training workshop. Adrienne and her team are still working on getting that set up. So as soon as we have dates for that, we will share those with you. And then the CASA DC conference and Aqua DC conference are coming up. That is the 3rd week of February, so February 23rd to the 26th. And the latter part of that same week is the Urban Water Institute Conference. That is February 25th to the 27th. And then
Indian Wells, huh?
Indian Wells, yeah. And then at the end of the month is the Ladyface Mountain Film Festival that Adrienne described earlier. So that is the remainder of January and February. March is included along with Nancy is starting to populate April, May, and into the summer. And we'll do our best to keep this updated so you have all of the events. And that concludes my report.
Who's the incoming president at the Urban Water Conference?
I am slated to be the incoming chairperson, subject to a very challenging election. A lot of campaigning going on.
He's your
Hey, Dave.
campaign manager.
Dave, tomorrow, what time do you think we'll be back here after?
Good question. I think what I understand is you have an appointment and you need to be back. So I think we'll commit to get you back when you need to. Is it 12 noon that?
No, I
No.
just I have to go back. I have to come back here and then be back in the city later, but.
Oh, you do?
Trying
Okay.
to plan the day, so.
So it starts at 10. My guess is it will be an hour and a half, 10 to 11:30.
Okay.
There's usually a little bit of mingling afterwards. People can ask questions. So I think realistically, we should be able to get out of there at 11:45. We should not hit a lot of traffic coming back. So my guess is we'd be back here at 12:45.
All right, very good. Any other comments or questions for Dave? Hearing and seeing none, item 10B, director's comments and reports on outside meetings. Why don't we start on Len's end this?
As we were in CASA this past week, and the major takeaway was the presentation which Gary referred to earlier. For me, the 2 people discussed attitude shifts and discussions. And I went to the meeting expecting to be bored, and I was absolutely riveted. How do you affect behavior you affect behavior by changing attitudes. And just the technology, I took a lot of pictures of their slides, and I understand they're gonna be up on the CASA website if they're not yet. And unfortunately, they don't videotape the presentation because the Frenchman spoke with an accent, and I was sitting in the back, and I had a hard time hearing him all the time. I was very annoyed. I moved up for the young woman who was a specialist in some kind of psychology. She had a master's degree in deviant psychology. I don't know if it's the right word, but she explained how she used the powers of persuasion through shifting attitudes to make people do different things, or to encourage them to do different things. I thought it was fantastic. It just knocked my socks off. Loved it. And I would like to see how we can change attitudes. I was watching your presentation earlier, Adrian, and I was thinking about that. How do you shift attitudes? I ran into a retired school district's superintendent. I don't know what district he was. It wasn't obviously Las Virgenes, because I know the last couple of superintendents, and he was not aware of the Pure Water Project. He also wondered why water costs were going up, and I pointed out the water costs, when has anything ever gone down? He agreed, and how do I shift attitudes? How do I do it? I said, call Jay Lewitt. He's your director. Fantastic presentation. Really enjoyed it. Got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Big screen TVs have gone down in price. Thank God. So, at the CASA conference, it was something that was kind of interesting to me, is that Jacobs had a presentation with Susan, who's the president. I don't know what the exact title is, but she was talking about WIFIA and how Jacobs is going to get involved with WIFIA, and I just thought that was interesting. I never seen, maybe I wasn't aware, but engineering firms are also lobbying, because I think if a multi-billion-dollar engineering firm lobbies our government, it's probably better than water districts, or just as good, or maybe more voices. So when I go back to Washington, I'm definitely going to find out what that's holding. I know I'm going on Metropolitan's trip, but Don, I'll think about you and try to find out about that. And I also want to thank Joe and Adrian for helping me make my remarks, making or helping make. I don't know what, but I'll give them. But you made them. But my remarks for tomorrow, because I really appreciate your help on that. And I just hope I don't lose the paper before that. And I should probably give it to Dave. But hopefully
We can pre-stage it in the van for you, Jay. So
that'd be good. If you could do that, because I don't know if I'll remember tomorrow, but I have them now. That's the good news. Thank you.
Yeah, and Susan from Jacobs actually helped us a little bit with some WIFIA issues that were going on down there. So the first, I was also at CASA. The first day there was a great presentation on the Brown Act. Some things which are interesting and helpful to us. If it looks like, and I'm going to wait for the lawyers to review all this, but it looks like if a director is sick and he's home and he has to tell it, go by Zoom and do the meetings by Zoom in their home within the district, as long as it's been properly noticed, they count towards quorum. Additionally, there's something called reasonable accommodation. If you are in a car somewhere wherever you are and you need to take the meeting, as long as you have appropriately noticed it, you can take the meeting in your car. I guess you put it on the side of the car. The other thing which I thought was interesting is that there are additional regulations for agencies, and hopefully we're not going to be included in them. I think it said something about cities being greater than 30,000 and counties greater than 300, and we don't cover the whole county, and all of our cities are less than 25,000. So I think we're going to be not having to required to go with those additional regulations. Let's see. Yep. It also looks like WOTUS, Waters of the U.S., there have been some more reasonable interpretations, I think, recently. So, which is also helpful to water districts in general. Overall, CASA has sometimes been, and I've said this to some other people, but it's CASA has been really technical and kind of over my pay grade as a director. This one was much more within my within my realm. Let's just put it that way. It was a really good conference.
I think we should we should find out what you said, Jay, about the Jacobs, because I don't think they're doing lobbying. My sense was that they have a division that you can hire, like as a consultant, where they'll help you think about these issues and interface with them. Lobbying, I don't know is the right word, but I was surprised to hear that they were involved in that process. I'm not sure exactly, maybe it is lobbying, but I thought I got the sense it was more of a service they provide that you pay for. But I don't know. It was confusing at best.
So I too was at the show, and I missed that Brown one. I think it was in coordination with something else that would have been interesting. I've also said to all of the organizations, and Aqua does do some podcasting, recording, and video, only to those of us who've paid for a full membership. But I've said that they should audio record all of these sessions so that we could listen back while we're in our cars or while we're traveling. I seem to get a blank stare from the people who are running these organizations. It seems to be, there's so many concurrent sessions, you can't go to all of them, and what you would find interesting, I would love to listen back to it. So hopefully that will eventually, years down the road maybe, make some sort of an effect. But as I mentioned before, this gentleman, Antoine, and the woman who followed, they basically were dynamic. Also, the lighting and the, sorry for your audio, but my audio was good. I found CASA in the past to have their participants that were never lit up. They were dark. They were hard to see. It was much better at this hotel. And so it was much more interesting because I could actually interact with them. And I went up and did speak to them afterwards, and they are highly interested in interacting with us. And I think it would be great to bring them here and talk with this Antoine gentleman. He is the future of the way we need to act, and it was really fantastic. I also wanted to, we kind of passed over this in our beginning items. We have hundreds of pages here of LVMWD hazard mitigation plan. Whoever put this together, I grant you that you had many nights of falling asleep easily, because it's hundreds of pages, of which I haven't even read it all. But I wanted to point out two things that actually did catch my eye. One, it talks about an airplane crash in the area. This is on page 201. And it, from a big airport, I don't think there's a problem. But then it says it's a small but existing risk of an aircraft crash in the LVMWD region. I think whoever put this together didn't recognize that we had a helicopter crash here a few years ago, unfortunately. And so I'm looking at this and going, did that not make any sense to anyone? It seems like it was mitigated as a report. Also, under wildfire probability, they said that FEMA expected annual loss is a 0.808%. It would certainly seem to me like we have a much higher level of a possible wildfire, considering what we've been through in the last 20 years. So if you want to go to sleep one night, read this couple of 100-page report, page by page.
I have one more comment I missed. The financial presentation about WIFIA, the woman was from Jacobs, who we had dinner with. She kept talking about statewide PFAs. And I was stuck on that. I couldn't go any further. She kept talking, and I talked to you, Don, about it, and I still don't understand. So what is the value? How do you engage it? Why do you do it? It was all these, it just really puzzled me. Even as she sat across the table from me at dinner, and I still didn't get it.
Yeah, in short, the concept has been discussed of a statewide WIFIA application that would fund multiple projects in California. So basically, one project, one application.
An application
for
covers the whole
California,
bunch.
a very large one, and it would incorporate multiple projects with different jurisdictions.
She didn't talk about that at all, but she just talked about how some smaller organization had put together a PFA, and then, because they couldn't get their loan through WIFIA, the PFA collapsed. And she said, you have a benefit of statewide operations. And then I went up after the meeting and I spoke to two people, as I mentioned to you, Don. And when the fellow sitting next to the guy I was talking to said, "Oh, you're with Don Patterson, you're fine." So I'm still not clear on what's the benefit of a statewide PFA to a local organization, and when do you engage them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complex process. It does have some logic in that you could spread the cost of administration. Okay. So we probably should agendize this for a future meeting, but there could be some benefits. It's a pretty complicated.
All right, what are they talking about?
I'd be happy to talk with you after the meeting.
Fine.
And Don, yes, I too heard that if we're with Don, you're in good hands. So you've made some good impressions. But where are we in terms of the stalemate with WIFIA or what's happening in the government?
So it's not on the agenda, so we probably should
Oh,
save that for a future meeting. I will just say, Don mentioned earlier that we are bringing a proposed resolution to the February JPA board that we're going to recommend that the board make this their top priority, federal priority. We've already essentially done that, but this is really going to formalize our advocacy behind this.
All right. Any more director comments or reports? Hearing and seeing none. Moving on to item number 11, future agenda items.
Are we going to have is there a future agenda items to discuss the statewide PFA concept, or what are we going to do?
You could ask for it if you'd like.
Well, I mean, you and Don are going to have a conversation, right?
Fine.
Fine. All right, let's see, moving on. It is now 10:51. And let's adjourn.
Great.